Hello, you're listening to TAIT, T-A-I-T, which is talking about immersive theatre. I'm Dr. Joanna Bucknall and I am a theatre scholar and an immersive theatre performance maker. I want to wish a warm welcome to all, whether you are tuning in for the first time or are on your way to becoming an avid immersivite. So what is TAIT all about? TAIT is about me getting out and talking to the people who make this kind of work in their own environments. So I'm talking to directors, producers, performers, set designers and dramaturgs. Basically anyone who is involved in immersive theatre who's willing to chat to me about the things that they do. I guess there's just a little side note I wanted to draw your attention to, and that is I always go and meet them in the places where they make their work. Sometimes that means we're recording the interview in the bar at the theatre, backstage or in a dressing room. This means the sound quality can vary, and I apologise for that. But I'm hoping you'll forgive me, because in exchange for sometimes not great quality, you'll be getting a real sense of the atmosphere that these people are making that work in, which is sometimes a secret location, which is quite exciting. The other little thing I wanted to mention is I am a theatre scholar and I will try really, really hard not to use too much scholarly jargon or terminology, but sometimes I forget myself, and when I get talking, I use lots of words that I think lots of people might not understand. If that is the case, and I use anything which you'd like to be explained, drop me a message or leave me a comment in the feed on any of like SoundCloud, iTunes, any of those, and I'll do a minisode and I'll address some of those things as I go along, just so that everybody has the chance to understand what it is that I might be talking about. Right, I'm going to stop talking now and let you get on and listen to the second interview. All right then, let's get to it. Okay, so welcome Immersivites listening. I'm here in the newly refurbished dressing rooms of the new Theatre Royal in Portsmouth with some of the cast from Les Enfants Terrible's immersive show Alice's Adventures Underground. Could I ask you both to introduce yourselves, tell us who you are and what your role is within Les Enfants Terrible? I don't mind who goes first.
Hi, I'm Alice Bounce. My role in Alice was I was on the puppetry track, so I played the cat, Humpty Dumpty and the caterpillar.
Great.
And I'm James Kenningale, and I was the White Rabbit, the King of Hearts and the Dormouse.
Great.
On that track. Yeah.
So what do you think is unique about what Les Enfants do, specifically about your work? What do you think's...
Well, the general work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that show. Well, I suppose it's mostly family focused. Would you say, and imaginative, or
they're great storytellers, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's always based on a great story. All their pieces.
That's nice.
That's where they start off from. I think there's obviously a very strong aesthetic through line with Les Enfants. You can recognise a show that Les Enfants have done. They all have. There's elements of other shows you can see within their other shows, like the show that we're in at the moment, the Menagerie. You can see hints of their other shows. You can always recognise a Les Enfants show that's both in the style, in the performance, and the visual aesthetic, and the script writing as well.
Yes.
Ollie and Anthony write a lot of the scripts.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that sums it up pretty well.
I think the website captures that quite well too, doesn't it? There's that kind of really distinct and really clear aesthetic that comes through. And I first saw a show, and I can't remember what it was called because it was a long time ago, in Brighton. It must have been in either 2006 or 2007. So that's when I first came across the company. And then obviously I've kind of been watching the work ever since, and I went to Alice last year as well, twice.
Twice? Do you do both? Tracks?
No, I didn't manage to. I managed to, when I went the second time, end up doing the same as I did the first time. Which
schoolboy error.
Chance. I know. So that's what I was going to ask really is, I went last year, but some of the people who might be listening might not have been or might not know a great deal about the show. So could you tell us just a little bit about Alice and what it was like and what it was about and what the experience was like of going?
So the idea for Alice was more that for the audience member, you almost took the place of Alice. Rather than watching Alice go on an adventure, it was the idea that you would go down the rabbit hole yourself.
Looking for Alice.
Yeah, and you would experience Wonderland as if it was your first time going round, rather than something that's you're just watching someone else have an experience. They wanted people to have different journeys as well, rather than like some immersive theatre where you sort of wander around and you find your own adventure. This was very much more a guided journey where you had certain choices. So it was much more organised. And you had different. You could eat or drink at the beginning. You went in small groups, about 52.
Yeah, 52.
How many cards are in a pack?
52.
Yeah, that
52
many.
people.
Is that many? 52.
It was split down into 4 groups.
Yeah.
So it was.
You could eat or drink, and that would split you 2 ways.
Okay.
And then you'd be split into hearts or diamonds or clubs or spades. And there was 2 sort of the red side, the hearts and diamonds. That was the side, the royalists on the side of the queen.
Yeah.
So you were having a very different story.
That's the
You were on
experience
the red
I had
side,
on both times. Yeah.
And the undersuits, the
black
clubs and
suits,
spades,
the undersuits, they were more the revolutionaries, sort of in opposition to the Red Queen, trying to underthrow her with. So on one side you'd be sort of painting the roses or like helping with the Queen's birthday. On the black side you'd be
plotting,
lots of missions and more sort of spy.
Yeah, and at the end it all came together in the court, I suppose, and hopefully the whole
and the tea party.
And the tea party, which is what everybody did. Everybody did those 2. But else,
so every suit had different. There were different scenes that were specific for each suit.
Yeah.
So if you had to go again and choose a different path, you'd see different scenes. And obviously, as actors, we were all rotating. So even if you went the same way, you'd never have the same show twice.
Yeah.
Because other actors would be taking each of the roles, and everyone played it differently. So every time you came, you'd have a different journey. But there were scenes very specific for each suit. So each suit would have a different mission.
Okay. Yeah, I've still got my cards as well because I always I love that. I love it when I get something to take away after I've been to one.
They're nice as well. They're quite cool.
They are really nice.
Well designed.
Quality item.
Yes.
They are. I still got it in my purse, I think. I've got a box full of all kinds of stuff that I've kind of collected or been given when I've been to something immersive or something that I've had to participate in. So I've got the card, I've got things from other shows as well. So I'm a bit of a hoarder. I like to keep everything. But I like it because it gives me access to those things again. So having those material objects sometimes is a really nice way of kind of accessing the memories of the shows again.
In certain suits you got a badge as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
If you went certain ways you got a little badge. Sometimes you'll be walking around Waterloo and you'll see
you'll
someone on the train and they've got like a little raven pin or the Queen of Hearts pin. You're like, know where they've been.
Hipsters were on their backpacks. They loved it.
Yeah. I collect badges as well, and I definitely didn't get one of those. So
next time, I'll make sure.
Next time I'll have to come.
And I think when they bring it back, because there are plans to. I think they'll have learnt a lot from what we just went through, because there were a lot of. It was very much a sort of learnt on the job, because I think it was Les Enfants' first immersive theatre show
of that scale.
Of that sort of scale. So what you saw. Will be slightly different when they do it again and improve.
Absolutely. It's something I was going to talk about a little bit later as well, is that this kind of work is so difficult to rehearse in that kind of traditional
changes. Things that we thought would work, and obviously work when you're practicing with other actors.
Yeah, exactly.
After the first night, you're like, okay, back to the drawing board. Like, we have to change this. Things that, just because the whole thing was so regimented with time, because people were entering every 15 minutes, so people had to be in a certain place, and whether they were there or not, the scene was going to start, because the whole thing, the sound and the lights all ran on a time code. So if your audience were there or not, the lights are going to come up, and you're supposed to do a scene even if they're not there. And we realised that, obviously, people move a lot slower than you think they're going to move.
They do.
Once we had big groups, we realised, we just had to really change things up and work.
It's a particular skill for acting, I suppose, to learn, because the onus is so much on the audience member to interact with. If you've got a limited amount of time and you're trying to get the story out, and they're not going for it, then you really are fighting a losing battle. When you've got 3 minutes to impart this quite important piece of plot,
crucial information.
So as an actor, it's a weird sort of discrepancy between being in the moment as far as you can, and also trying to be very, very conscious of time.
Yeah.
The card guards had quite a hard job. The supernumeraries, that, like your tour guide, that they were dressed as cards, and they took groups from one place to another, obviously trying to get people to places on time for you to do your scene, but also making that journey fun and part of the journey rather than just like, quickly now.
Now you're going to spoil it for everybody else.
On sold out nights, there were times when it was like that, when we were running behind.
Yeah.
So it was tough.
It is difficult, isn't it? Especially specifically with the way that show was organised in terms of time. Because, for example, in other spaces, they kind of let you in and you do what you want, and then eventually they kick you out.
And space was at a premium with us as well, because there's a lot of very tight corridors and tunnels. Yeah. Whereas most of it's like Punch Drunk, as you say, you've just got a huge warehouse just to wander around.
Yeah. It's interesting, actually, because the first time I saw Punch Drunk's work was Mask of the Red Death at the Arts Centre. And I managed to not see any of these scenes at all. I don't know how I managed to do that. And then when I came out and was chatting to people, they were like, oh, there was this amazing scene here and there. I was like, I missed like literally all of that. I don't know how I managed to do that. So I had a very different experience.
I felt like that was The Drowned Man. I just I saw so much great stuff, but when you came out, I just felt like I'd missed loads. I had real fear of missing out. It's like, oh, but what if I miss the really good bits? Like, you just don't know, do you, what you've seen? Yeah. And that was a good thing about Alice, was that obviously it's wonderful to wander and have your own experience, but with Alice you felt like you got taken to all the places and you got to see everything you needed to see. You didn't miss anything. Everyone got the equal amount of scenes. So at the end it would be interesting because you'd meet up with people that hadn't seen the same things and you could talk about it, but that would be an exciting thing because you'd seen something they hadn't seen rather than you've just missed it.
Yes,
you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Everyone's seen different things,
and you got to see those different perspectives sometimes. So you'd see someone else involved, like when I was looking through at the tarts, and I really enjoyed being able to kind of spy on somebody else's
experience.
Yeah, which I thought was really nice. But I didn't feel at any point that I'd kind of missed out like I potentially have at other pieces of work.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is quite nice. Let me just check my battery. Okay, I've got one bar, so... so we've talked about this a little bit already, but what's the process that you go through of preparing your kind of characters or the work that you do as an actor for this kind of work? Is it different to how you would potentially prepare a character where you wouldn't have to engage with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
A bit, and obviously because we had more than one character as well, there was a lot we had to work on each one. We actually started off in the rehearsal process, we did listen to music quite a lot and tried to find, because really it was quite an open book, like the Cheshire Cat, for example, didn't have to be the Cheshire Cat of Disney, the Disney Cheshire Cat or the typical one, and finding it, it could be anything, people finding, but then obviously, of course, you've got four or five people playing the same role, so they all have to find something, you have to all agree on something and find something that you're all happy with.
That's right. And with The Rabbit, for example, an audience would go through and could potentially see two different actors playing the rabbit on the same night.
Okay.
So
one at the beginning, one at the end.
Yeah, because obviously we try and get around, but there were 6 actors playing the rabbit and there were 3 on every night. Because there were so many people coming through, as Bound said, to be at the beginning, at the end, and the tea party in the court. We were alternating constantly, but it sort of had to feel a little bit like we were the same actor, so they didn't know any difference between us.
Yes.
So we all had fun
there
with
was
it.
one actor who was doing absolutely fabulous. Was it a Jamaican? White Rabbit, and it was brilliant. And we were like, "This is really good." In rehearsals,
and how are we going to do this?
Yeah, and then when it worked out that actually you're going to be on at the same time, and the other actors looked a bit worried, we might have to lose the Jamaican White Rabbit, even though he's brilliant.
Yes, it's difficult to pull off if you're not him.
Yeah,
I don't think I can really pull off a Jamaican White Rabbit.
Yeah, of course, it's because of the multi-rolling, isn't it? Which I think then is almost an added challenge on top of having to face-to-face deal with audience and the way audience might behave. I'm a practitioner myself and I do work that engages the audience, and it's really hard to rehearse because you're like, well, whenever I get people in to kind of be mock audience, they're either performers or other academics, so they behave in ways that you potentially expected them to. And especially the students, well, they're so enthusiastic and they love it, so they'll just behave how you expect them to. So how do you, what kind of strategies do you have for being able to account for potentially anything that might happen?
We've had some strange experiences.
The worst thing was that I think it was one of the first opening nights, press nights, or when it was a bit cheaper, the press nights right at the beginning, the previews, and a group of quite drunk youths came, and one of them tried to got into the lake with the mock turtle and tried to swim towards the mock turtle.
Oh,
and it's
no.
it's not very pleasant water. I wouldn't swim in it.
I wouldn't go anywhere near it.
No.
None of the actors got in without waders. So I don't, but yeah, we have that. I mean, I don't really know what you can do about that. That was a bit out there.
We've had some strange ones. People coming through in various states of inebriation. Of all manner of causes as well. People who had signed up for it and not realised that it would be so interactive. We had that quite a bit. People who just didn't want to interact.
Really?
Yeah, quite a lot. Especially at the tea party, people on their phones, or people who just wouldn't make eye contact.
Wow, that was my favourite part. I loved the tea party, and I'm a huge Alice fan as well. So for me, I was just in my element. I absolutely loved it.
But mostly, by and large, people, once they realised what it was,
I think the problem is, probably my problem was not people not interacting, because the scene will go on whether they interact or not, because it wasn't so much, obviously if you pick someone for one-on-ones or people that were picked for missions, it would be people that were quite up for it.
Yeah.
So that you especially, they singled out for these things. So by and large, if people weren't interacting, the scene would go on. I think they'd get less out of it, but you can keep going. It was more the people that interacted perhaps too much, which is the problem.
Go the other way.
Drunk shouting out as you're Humpty Dumpty and you're a tiny little egg on the wall and you're quite defenceless. Or when Humpty'd fallen off the wall and he's a tiny little egg on the floor, big drunk hands coming towards your face, and it's literally all you've got is your face because you're behind the wall. And you're like, ah! And big drunk hands coming to take the egg off your head. No, stay back.
Okay.
Yeah, and as the rabbit, you used to get grabbed quite a bit. Yeah. Because obviously we were all quite small.
They got the bot pinched.
You get your bum pinched by women. Oh, your ears grabbed by blokes. Because our ears moved. You see, you could move our ears with a little trigger. So you'd put them up, and then some bloke would just grab your ears and yank you back like that. But by and large, this was the early days. By and large, once we got into a habit, once we developed ways of dealing with audiences, large audiences, it became fun. You learnt where to stand and how to say things. You learnt on the job how to perform to that many people. Yeah, to manage that amount of people every day.
Yeah.
And that just took a bit of time, which is, I suppose, answers your question of what you can rehearse. You can rehearse your character, but it will change completely.
Yeah, of course.
Because you want to be likeable, or do you know what I mean? You want people to feel they can talk to you, so you've got to soften your character anyway. You can't be defensive with it.
Yeah, I think the main thing as well is just to take it on the chin and just plough on. Yeah. Because there would be, obviously, I think the reason we got people that might not have been as experienced theatre goers is because it's a big year for Alice, and Alice is quite almost a mainstream subject matter.
Yes.
Something like The Drowned Man isn't going to get Tom, Dick and Harry off the street. It's going to be people that are interested in immersive theatre, sort of people that know what that is and what they're expecting. Because I think because it was Alice, I think people came for their hen parties and all sorts that weren't quite. I don't know if
they didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, I think they didn't quite know
completely.
It was going to be an immersive, interactive theatre experience.
Yes.
So that's why I think some people were a bit taken aback and perhaps didn't interact in the way that you do expect with immersive theatre, because they weren't typical theatre goers that would go to that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it has to be said that that's really true. But I think a lot of people that initially were sceptical when they came out were quite turned on to the idea of immersive theatre.
Oh yeah, I think they loved it. They just didn't really know what they were coming to, so people didn't quite know how to.
Well, I found that it was quite, because I research it, so I go to see pretty much anything I can kind of get to that includes the audience in any way, and I actually found that was quite accessible in terms of if you weren't necessarily an experienced immersive theatre goer.
Yeah, because it's led,
because you're guided through, and because you can't in a way sort of make too many mistakes as an audience.
No, yeah, that's a lot of people said that they felt looked after.
Yeah,
like you didn't. Yeah. Whereas some you sort of feel like you're just left to your own devices and you're not sure what to do. In this show, you very much are looked after, taken around. You have a guide who's your friend who takes you to all the different places. Yeah. Everything's explained to you, and it's all sort of there's room for play and there's room to choose a couple of things, but not you're not left.
No, putting the pieces together.
Yeah,
no, which can happen in some work. So I think in terms of that, I think it's been a big success in the fact that it's made the form potentially more accessible to an audience that probably wouldn't come to stay to a drowned man or come to be washed by Adrian Howes, for example, at the VAC. It's a very different kind of audience, I think, that's been coming to the show.
It's marketed as like a really nice evening out as well. We had cocktail bars, we had lovely cocktails at the tea party. There was live music at the weekends. They had a big bar.
Yeah.
So it was like a fun experience night. Like the whole, you could spend the entire evening there and have a really great night out.
And people did, because we also put in bar characters as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So when they finished the show, they could still talk, and that was quite successful.
There was stuff going on when you got out. There was an aerialist and
the flamingo croquet and stuff, and
I think
pies.
Really good pies.
Really great pies.
The liminal spaces, again, that happen before and after some of these works that kind of invite you into the world are quite important. So I loved being able to go into kind of that seating area, which kind of like had the feel of like an at the start of an old theatre, and then coming out into the bar, I really felt that I was kind of transitioned gently and in a caring way into this kind of environment, and then not just kind of, because some of them can be really abrupt. You're kind of in and out. That's like, bye, go now, and you're left late at night in a strange place. And I didn't kind of have a sense of that.
Yeah, there's no time limit, is there? You can stay as long or as little as you like. And
yeah, which I really enjoyed. So you mentioned earlier that this is kind of one of the first sort of moves into immersive work for Les Enfants. Why do you think this story was such a great way of making that move into immersive theatre? Why make everyone get out their seats for this show, do you think?
Well, for Alice?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose...
It's that thing of wanting to experience Wonderland.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't sit still in Wonderland, would you?
No.
And Alice obviously goes walking on a big adventure and
Yeah.
goes into all these different spaces and has all these different experiences. And Sam, the designer, and the team managed to make like when you see the vaults now, it's a shell, isn't it? Like it looks crazy.
Yeah.
But he made these spaces. They made rooms that made you feel really tiny and rooms that made you feel really small, and lots of different vibes and atmospheres. It was really cosy, like the shisha lounge with the caterpillar, and they had
the mock turtle room was so
the lake and the rain, and
beautiful.
the cat room was furry. Each room you
sensory.
sensory. You really experience all these different places, and each room really suits the character. So I think it just wouldn't have worked the same.
No. And I think Alice lends itself to it because, as you said earlier, there's a familiarity with the subject.
Yeah.
If we'd chosen to bring another storybook to life, people would be a little bit unsure, perhaps, when they experience it. But everyone knows what to expect. So then the challenge was to either subvert that expectation or to exceed it, and there's that sort of common ground for them to experience. I think that's why it's so attractive as a prospect.
Yes.
You always want to bring something to life that people have an awareness of already. Makes the job slightly easier, I think.
And it's fun for people because obviously there's the characters that are included in the Disney versions that everyone expects, and then there's the other characters, the Dodo, Bill the Lizard, characters that people that were fans of Alice, people that have read the book and been big fans. Exactly. There was stuff for them as well, so there was different levels of it.
We got a lot of that, didn't we? Fans, big fans of the book coming through and actually
picking up on the more subtle things.
Yeah, that's what I enjoyed. I thought there were a lot of kind of small things that gave me a lot of pleasure, and I think sometimes an audience needs... I did my PhD on this kind of work, and I did practice as research, and one of the things I found initially was that the more freedom that I gave people, the more they froze up and just didn't know what to do. And actually I found that if you give them a thread or something familiar, or at least something they can just grab hold of, actually they have a better time and they seem to have more of a sense of what to do. So I think such a well-known story, and we all know Wonderland in one form or another, and I think that gives you a route in of certain expectations, and I think that helps sometimes. Rather than other spaces, sometimes you enter them and you're like, I don't recognise this, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, and I think actually that causes more anxiety. But I think the way that we know Wonderland and the way that we got taken in, I think it strips back some of the anxiety that can come with
certainly.
that. Can you remember any, you've already talked about a couple of them, but is there anything in the last run of it that really kind of stuck out for you and really made you think, oh, I'm so glad I did this, or a moment that you had with an audience that you were like, oh, this is lovely?
Well, I suppose when it works, it's the best theatre ever, because there's no fourth wall or anything. You're completely talking direct address to an audience. Because we had groups of 13 people, in each suit. So you're very, very in rooms the same size as we are in now.
Yeah, of course.
Talking as close as we are, and we're actually listening to you, and then you're actually having a relationship going on. Then that's very satisfying. So when it works, it's the best sort of theatre ever because you can be completely truthful, and there's it's a wonderful feeling of people listening to you. But on the flip side, of course, when they're not listening to you, it's the most difficult theatre because you've just got to plough on
and look right into their eyes.
And look right into their eyes. Yeah. And you can't look. Most of the time, you can't. Most of the rooms we were on our own, weren't we? Apart from say the tea party in the court and some of the cats. But you can't look to your other actor for backup.
No, there's nowhere to hide, is there at all? You're present in front of them, and they
it's very exposing.
Reach out and touch you.
As they did, yeah.
I think I'd agree. Like, I think as Humpty, because I really loved Humpty, when you do have just a group and very, very close, because on his, I don't know if I should say it, but on his falling off the wall scene, and they're really gathered around, so they're very close. And when you're doing your egg jokes, which were excellent, people are really laughing. You're like, I am so funny. Because it's such a, like you say, so small and intimate, and they're all laughing, and it's one-on-one, which you wouldn't get a lot of theatre pieces, would you? Where a lot of plays, you wouldn't be just you entertain, even though it's a short scene, it's just you and the audience, and you're holding it. So it was really great. And also the finale, because that was a great moment when all the cast came together and we played the birthday song, and we'd be grabbing the audience and dancing with them, and it was very, very joyous, and the whole bar's dancing. It's like, oh, we did something good.
And I think in theatre normally you don't get such immediate response, do you, to your work? So if you're doing a play, and it's sometimes it's quite hard to know how it's going.
Yes.
Unless they're laughing or booing. Do you know what I mean?
Begging you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to judge how much someone's enjoying your show.
Of course.
That's all the way out there. But with Alice, you got straight away whether they liked it or not.
Yeah.
And again, that was a double-edged sword.
But it becomes kind of feedback loop, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then you play
loop.
to it, or you just try and deal with it. It's really good people management, I will say that, and reading an audience that gets a lot better quite quickly.
Yes.
and just knowing how to play like in that sort of space to so many people.
Do another egg joke.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a different discipline.
Yes.
That's why I'd recommend it for any actor, to go through. Because
you have to think on your feet and be quick and
your improv skills get so much better. I mean, dear me. Even though I was very lucky, I never had any big catastrophes.
Okay.
With the show stopping or pausing.
Right at the beginning, the first couple of times it ran, there was a couple of technical hitches where the show it just stopped, so everything stops.
Oh no!
Awful. And for some reason it happened a couple of times and never happened again, so I don't know what. I think there was a power cut in Waterloo or something, and the whole thing went down, and there was an awful moment. We were stuck as the cats, so there's three of us, because it's a 3-man puppet, stuck with like sort of 30 people sort of staring at us in the darkness, doing like a really strange avant-garde cabaret by torchlight, which actually went down my skull.
I have to say, they've had their own unique experience then.
Yeah.
Take away, no one else
the
will
Frog
have that.
Border Guard made them play Wink Murder. It went down really well. It's a 6'4" frog just talking to them like it's very surreal, isn't it? That's why you do it.
That's why I love doing that kind of work, and I love going to that kind of work as well, because I think you get a kind of immediacy out of it that you don't get in another form. So what's next for Alice's Adventures Underground?
Oh, well.
I hear rumours that it's coming back, you see.
Well, we hear rumours as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything concrete, I don't know if you do.
I don't think I know anything concrete, but I know that they definitely would like to bring it back.
Yes.
They're looking into places and the sort of the logistics of doing it all again.
Yes.
It's Herculean, man.
It needs a very specific space.
Yes, and the time, and for different space you have to rewrite the time code, which means you'd have to think about the whole show as a whole,
Yeah.
All the time, all the exits. That was, I mean, when I came into this and I was looking at what they'd achieved, the specific timing of the rooms is quite breathtaking. That somebody managed to envision that, and to put that in practice.
The routes,
and the routes,
how
people didn't bump into each other, and they all got. I mean,
it was very
crazy.
slick, very slick. It makes it very difficult, though, doesn't it? This kind of work is difficult to program. It's difficult to produce. It's difficult to find good venues to get it on at as well, and that's I think is a huge challenge with this kind of work. Well, fingers crossed then that it does come back. There's certainly a huge public appetite, and I know I teach immersive to my second years, and they keep saying, we really wanted to go to Alice, but it's not on anymore. And I was like, well...
As my friend said that. I was like, you had 6 months.
Yeah, I know.
Like, in the last
had
2
a
weeks
long
when it's
time.
completely sold out, I started getting loads of calls. I was like, it's too late.
Yeah, it's like, all gone. Absolutely sold out.
I'm sure it will come back though, because as you say, it went down very well. I think it will come back a bit slicker.
Bigger and better than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to develop these things as you go, don't you? Because you have everything, you plan everything you can possibly think to plan for, but then, of course, until you have those interactions, until you actually do the show, you can never sort of develop it.
Yeah.
So, great. Well, I suppose I need to let you get yourselves organised for your show this afternoon. I don't want to kind of hold you up. I've got to run off to London because I've got another interview this afternoon. So I really wanted to come and stay. But you're touring it around,
great
aren't
show.
you? So.
Yeah.
It's called The Marvellous Imaginary Menagerie. And we're on tour throughout the UK for the next couple of months.
Yeah, until
Excellent.
April. Till 10th of April.
And it's on the web, all the information's on the website, isn't it?
It's a great show. Again, lots of puppets, great sets, amazing costumes, all by Sam Wire, who did Alice.
Yeah.
So,
he was fantastic.
Really
Well, I've just walked through the theatre and watching all the technicians working hard to get it all set for this afternoon, and the set does look stunning. So if you have the time, go on the website, see where they're going to be next. This is coming out at about Easter, so you will still be touring the show then.
Yeah.
So please come and see them, and also keep an eye open for Alice potentially coming back.
Yeah, and Les Enfants, all Les Enfants work. They'll probably be taking the shows up to Edinburgh this year. They'll be doing stuff.
Great.
They've always got work coming out. There's a new show, a sister to this, called Dr. Latitude, which is based in a hot air balloon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which will be
lovely.
another one. That'll be an outdoor piece.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll have
I
lots
should
going
keep
on.
an eye on. I'll be tweeting and kind of
Lovely.
putting it all out on social media. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
That's all right.
It has been lovely. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for listening. I hope it was interesting and insightful. Don't forget as well that Alice is actually on sale now. So if you want tickets, do go and get them because it sells out ever so quickly. And there is a link through to Les Enfants' website from my website as well, which is www.joannabucknall.co.uk. So that's www.joannabucknall.co.uk. Next month, I'm going to be chatting with Bertie Watkins from Collab Theatre at a secret location in London. If you don't want to miss out, make sure you subscribe on either SoundCloud or on YouTube. And please do share with anyone else you think might be interested. The more the merrier. The last thing is, I would really love to hear your comments and your feedback. So please do comment on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, the website, our Facebook page, or you can even email me directly as well. I would love to hear from you. And like I said right at the beginning, if I use anything that is confusing or that you don't understand, just let me know and I will explain. And in the future, do my best not to use so much terminology and jargon. Anyway, I think it's time that I stop talking, but I will either be making a minisode if anybody has any comments. But if you don't have any comments, you'll be hearing me again next month at a secret location in London chatting to Bertie. Do not miss it. All right then, until then, bye-bye. P.S. Just a little note that everybody should know. This podcast series is edited by a very patient man called Nigel Tuttle, who is my partner in life and also a creative partner of mine. And my beautiful TAIT logo was designed by an incredibly talented artist called Kirsty Mills. So you have all been told, and until next month, bye-bye.